Hello and welcome to my tutorial for Thief 2 Dromed 1.19. This is the unofficially patched version of Dromed 2. And this video will explain the interface of Dromed so you can get accustomed to the interface. So first you'll notice that there are four little boxes here, or windows. The top left is the 3D view, and this basically shows you what objects there are in the mission that you've loaded. The top view, so you can see everything as a wireframe view from the top, a front and a right. Now you can change how these are laid out. One way to do that is hold down the left mouse button in the very center and drag around, and you can resize the windows. Now, if you want it to go back, you can just click there again and drag, or you can go to View and do Recenter Dividers. That will reset it back to the center. Now, you also notice that you can change the layout as well. So the default is 2 by 2, but you can also do 1 left, 3 right, 1 top, 3 bottom, and of course you can go back to 2 by 2. I typically use 2 by 2 just because it has an equalized view of all windows, and should I want a bigger window, like say I want to navigate around within the world, I just right click, hold down the right mouse button and select Solo View. That way, if I'm wanting to navigate around, it's a lot easier to see what I'm doing. Now, if you right-click again, hold down the right mouse button, you have these different options, and of course, unsolo to go back. Now, you'll notice here there's wireframe brushes, solid world, solid plus selection, and solid plus all wireframe. I typically use solid plus selection. That basically means that all objects in the scene you'll see everything with their textures applied and everything, like if you were actually playing the game. And plus selection, basically that just means that whatever object you've selected in one of the other views will have a wireframe box around it. Let's go ahead and open up a mission. I'm going to go ahead and open up the ambush mission. You also notice in the bottom of the Dromed window it tells you the name of the mission file, and to the right of that is where the GameSys lies, the name of the GameSys. In this case it's not using any custom GameSys, so it's just dark.gam. And then of course you have your time in the bottom right hand corner, and then what kind of information in the middle, like load successful here in this case, or if I select an object it'll say selected object brush. Now let's go ahead and talk about the command line box. That is this thing in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. This allows you to type in commands like toggle lighting. You'll notice that now the 3D view is much brighter. This is just a handy way of making your scene full bright. That way when you're editing you can see better what you're doing without having to worry about the lighting as it would be in the game. Now of course if you are wanting to see how the lighting is going to look, you don't want to keep this on. So I'm going to turn toggle lighting back off. You'll notice that I put in toggle underscore lighting and not light underscore bright. The reason this is because in Dromed 1.19 they've replaced light underscore bright with toggle lighting. Now if you don't like typing in commands, of course there are the drop downs. So in this case I would go to View and at the very top toggle lighting. Now you may notice here, I'll scroll through all of these lists here, you'll notice that there's some new options. So in 1.19 there was the inclusion of the menus.cfg, a new version of that has custom commands for the drop-downs. And 1.19 did not come with Dromed, the Dromed toolkit, which is a separate download that you'll need if you want to have all of these functioning. The 1.19 patch instructions assume that you've already installed Dromed toolkit, or at least will ask you to do that. And there's some really useful commands in here, and also with the Dromed toolkit you get the hotkeys for commonly used editor windows. Like for example, if you hit F5 you'll get the object hierarchy, which that brings up all of the objects within the entire Thief resources folder. Next, let's talk about the bottom left-hand corner of the Dromed interface. So you'll notice XYZ, HPB, DWH. So let me select. First, I'm going to turn on toggle lighting. And by the way, you'll notice that I'm moving without using the mouse. I'm using W to move forward, S to look left, D to look right, and X to go backwards. So I'm going to select this sheriff's guard right here, and I'm going to hold down the left mouse button on the X. And you'll see that he's moved along the X-axis. So you can imagine that the Y would do for the Y and the Z would go up and down, which it does. Now if you hit floor me, because I moved this character up, he's not sitting on the ground anymore, and I could just go down here and try to fiddle with it and get it back to where it was, but it would be easier if I just put in floor, if I just click floor me. So there you go. Now he's back, he's snug right onto the ground there. Now you can also fine-tune this by using the arrows or typing in a number and hitting enter. Now you're probably wondering what HPB is for. These are the rotation settings for an object that you have selected. So for example, if I hold down H on the H, that will rotate him right, left or right. Then if you use P, that'll rotate him up and down. And if you use B, that'll rotate him left or right along the vertical axis. And of course you can type in here values like 270. So to the right of that is DWH, and this has to do with the sizing of an object. So to demonstrate, I'm going to select this lamp here, this street lamp. Let me go ahead and maximize the view. Okay, now I will try changing the D value. Let's set this to 5 and see what happens. You don't see much of a change. Let me do something more dramatic like 15. You'll notice that the street lamp now has a very odd dimension. It's sort of, it's fatter now. So that's the depth. Then you've got W, which you can imagine would be width, which it is. So I can scale it like this. And then of course H is for height. You'll notice here that we've got properties, links, floor me, class, and update. I'm not sure what update does actually, but the most used tools here are going to be properties, class, floor me, and links. So properties, that just brings up all of the properties of the currently selected object. So in this case I've selected the street lamp, and it's got an object ID of 220, by the way. That's what the parentheses 220 is. And that is useful for, say, you're trying to find an object in the scene and you don't want to have to use WASD to get all the way over to the object. So you can just do find underscore object in the command line like this, 220, or you can go up to view, find object, and type in 220 and hit enter, and there you go, and it would select this object. Now that's not enough. That only selects the object. If you want to teleport over to it, you can do that by going to camera to object or hitting F8 if you have the Dromed toolkit selected. Installed. So it teleported me right to that object. Let's make it a little more obvious. So let's say I'm over here and I don't feel like going all the way back over there. Let me select some other object. And I remember that it's 220. So I'm going to hit F3 for find underscore object and type 220. Selected the object. Now I'm going to hit F8. And there you go. Right back to the object. Okay, let's talk about links now. Links allow you to set up basically sort of like script setting things up between two objects. So like in this case, you've got particle attachment links. So basically this lamppost has some particle attachments attached to the object. And you can add things in here like, for example, you can add in here, for example, control device. Control device is one of the most common links used in Dromed, and this basically allows you to cause some sort of event to happen. So say you've done a control device link from a button or something like that, whatever the number might be, and you're wanting it to open a door, for example. Let's just say door, whatever that is. Now I just made this up because I didn't actually have a button already placed and a door to attach to, but the idea is that you have the from and the to set up, and you don't want this tilde thing grayed. You don't want this selected. That basically does the reverse. So it would select from, it would use the to, it would basically reverse these. But anyway, so you have from this to this, and that will basically set it up to tell the game that you want the button to activate the door. So when you hit the button, the door will open. So that's just an example of the control device link. And then you also have, like, for example, AI patrol, which is a way to set up patrolling options for the AI within the scene. So that's just a little bit about the links. Now let's talk about class. So I'm going to select this sheriff's guard right here, and I'm going to hit class. So that brings up the object hierarchy. Now that I'm in the object hierarchy, you can see that it selected the sheriff's guard already for me, and it shows that he's under the archetype of cops, under grunts, under swordsman, and under guard, and then furthermore under human, and then under animal. So that basically breaks it down, and you can see where that cop lies with what archetype he's under, or what class he is. So he's a cop, so he's under the cops hierarchy. Now, that's just a quick way to find, if you want to select, say, another cop. That's just a quick way to do it. Otherwise, you'd have to go to either F3 and type in cops and bring that up. That's another way of getting there. Or you would have to go up to editors and click on object hierarchy, and you'd have to manually search for whatever it is that you're looking for. So class is just a nice little shortcut. Now let's say you find this a little overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff on the screen here, and you're trying to find a specific object. Well, you can go over here to where it says filter, click on that, left click, and then you can filter out the stuff that you don't want to see. So now I've just got objects selected, which makes it a lot easier to browse, look through all of the objects in the scene. And of course, I can turn objects off and just look at the terrain. Now, you may have noticed, if you are somewhat familiar with Dromed at all, or even if you're not, which of course this is better, this is made for people who are new to Dromed, you'll notice that there is the blue boxes or wireframe brushes here that represent the terrain. Well, in the original missions, the original file of this mission file was stripped. So in that version of the file, it did not show the blue. You only saw the red and the yellow and whatever. You didn't see these. The reason why you're seeing them in this version is because on the Thief 2 disk there was a zip file that had all of the unstripped versions of the missions. And of course that's a lot better to use if you're wanting to modify the original missions. And I wanted to have that, so I went ahead and got the unstripped version of Ambush. So anyway, just thought I would mention that. And you can also clone objects, so you see there's a clone right here. And that brings in the exact same copy of this sheriff. So that way you don't have to go back to the object hierarchy and find the object or whatever. And it's just an easier way to move things around in the scene. Get things set up. So that's the basics of the Dromed interface. One more thing, let's talk about the texture palette. So you can hit F7 or you can go up to editors. And in 1.19, the palette has been greatly enhanced. It's got this nice new window. It's a lot easier to see the different textures and browse them. And it's got little information like the size of the texture and the name of the texture file. And you can filter for whatever it is you're looking for. So if I want core_1 textures, just do that. And now it's only showing these. So the texture palette you'll be using for when you want to put textures onto solid brushes. And a solid brush is basically what that is like the terrain in this mission. So I've selected this solid right here. And at the bottom it gives me options for like the face. So if I select, let's see here. Okay, there we go, east. I can scroll through the textures, you can see them changing there. Or F7, oops. I can hit F7 and browse for a texture, double click on it, and there you go. And now it's applied texture, the 50th texture within the hierarchy of textures in the palette to this face. So that concludes the basics of the Dromed interface, And I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.